From UFOs to ghost and psychic powers, history is riddled with unexplained events. You can turn back now and learn the stuff they don't want you to know. Here are the facts. On December 10, 2004, journalist Gary Webb was found dead with 2 gunshot wounds to his head in Carmichael, California. The coroner ruled the death a suicide, and Webb's ex-wife noted that he had been depressed after a falling out with his employers at the San Jose Mercury. Gary Webb was a controversial but lauded journalist. In 1996, he wrote a series of articles for the Mercury that were later made into a book called Dark Alliance. Prominent newspapers attacked this series, including the Washington Post and the New York Times. Eventually, Webb's own paper backed away from his work. Many believe that being professionally discredited drove him to suicide, and his claims were exaggerated. Yet conspiracy theorists believe Gary Webb was murdered because his story was not only true, but the beginning of an international scandal. So what did he actually write? Here's where it gets crazy. In this series, Webb alleged that Nicaraguan Contras were responsible for the Los Angeles crack cocaine epidemic of the 1980s. He also claimed that the CIA knew of these operations and, at the very least, ignored them. At worst, he alleged they actually covered up the crimes. With extensively documented sources, Gary Webb built a case that argued the Contras were able to somehow get cocaine into the US and get cash out much more easily than other drug-running organizations. Without having to pay the cost of transportation, the Contras were able to sell cocaine at bargain basement prices. Webb claimed that this cheap cocaine flooded the market, enabling the crack epidemic. While these allegations were severe, they were not far-fetched. In South and Central America, it's not unusual for revolutionary groups to use the drug trade as a way to raise money. Other groups such as FARC and the Shining Path have both employed similar strategies. Yet why were the Contras able to move their product with such ease? According to Gary Webb, it's because they had the support of the CIA. Webb never claimed that the CIA provided outright assistance to the Contras, but he did claim the CIA had knowledge of this drug trade for some time. Why on earth would an agency of the US government allow criminals to bring drugs into the country? To Webb, it was a matter of realpolitik. The money the Contras generated from the drug trade allowed them to wage war in Nicaragua, attempting to overthrow the leftist Sandinista government. Supporting the Contra army was so important that the CIA also prevented the Department of Justice and the DEA from prosecuting several known Contra smugglers. The Reagan administration had already established a precedent for this behavior by tolerating drug trafficking, as long as the trafficking benefited the Contras. Additionally, later CIA investigations partially vindicated Webb's findings. It seemed that Gary Webb was professionally redeemed. So why do conspiracy buffs think he was murdered? According to conspiracy theorists like Alex Jones, Webb was assassinated to prevent the publication of a second book, one with even more evidence of criminal activity by the CIA. Some of Webb's acquaintances say that he told them if he was found dead, it would not be a case of suicide. The conspiracy world is rife with questions regarding this death, including debates about the ability to deliver 2 self-inflicted gunshots. This becomes a conspiracy within a conspiracy. To the mainstream, Gary Webb committed suicide because he was blackballed for speaking truth to power, and people who believe he was murdered are only prolonging the pain for Webb's surviving family and friends. Yet to conspiracy theorists, this is an open and shut case of political assassination. This is clearly a situation full of stuff they don't want you to know. But here's the real question. Does our government have secrets worth killing for?